Hi guys, I think I'm live now. If you can see me, if you can hear me, if everything is good, please do let me know in the chat that everything is good. In this video, I'll be discussing what my strategy is when I try to get 100 percentile. And if anybody else is also trying to score 100 percentile or score very high, that is above 99.9 plus, then I think this stream will be very useful for you. And in general, if you are interested to know my strategy and how I actually approach the examination, that also will be, this I think will be a useful stream. So guys, please do like the stream. For people who know me, I think I'm the founder of Cracku, co-founder of Cracku, and I've taken CAT every year since CAT 2019. In CAT 2019, I got 100. In CAT 2020, I got 99.99. In CAT 2021, 2022, and 2023, I got 100 again in all the 3 years. So actually, I'm making a video next week where I explain why I take CAT, because many people also have this doubt as to why do you take CAT so many times, even when you're scoring 100. I'll explain all that in my video. I'm doing an interview with one of our employees where I'll explain my theory and my reasons as to why I take CAT every year. So let me first say hi to everyone who has just joined. Good evening, Abhinav. Sir, please, I also want to score 100 percentile. Okay, I manifest. Okay, that's very nice. I know, sir, daily I watch your videos. Okay. Very nice, Abhinav. So I'll discuss my strategy just after a few more people join. Please do like the stream, guys, and I'll tell you my approach for verbal, my approach for LRDA, and my approach for Quant. I'll tell you all the 3 things that I focus on when I'm actually going into the examination center, because I think my preparation for the examination is not so much, because I teach a lot, so I revise a lot. So it is not just about what I prepared. I am going to talk about my mindset, my strategy with respect to the exam taking strategy. That is what I'll be discussing most today. Yarning Enterprise is saying, cold water. Thank you. Can I get 9 percentile if I start preparing from today for 2024? I think you still have 5 months. So based on where your position is right now, 9 percentile is not so difficult. And I've seen many people improve their percentiles. In fact, this year I interviewed a lot of people who improved their percentiles from 70 to 98, 99. So improving there is not very difficult. The only issue is most of those guys that I interviewed, they started their preparation from March. It is already June, so I think you're slightly late. But even now, if you put in good effort, if not 99, you'll at least get to 95. So put in the effort, don't feel demotivated, don't be pessimistic. Sir, what is the live window for DashCat 4? I think DashCat 4 went live. If you're a premium student of Cracku, you can take the DashCat at any time, but the recommended time for you to take it is as soon as possible. I think last weekend was when DashCat was supposed to be taken. Okay guys, let me talk about my strategy. What I look at or what I think about when I am preparing for all the 3 sections. So with respect to preparation, like many of you know, I'm actually pretty strong at Quant. Quant is something that I am, because I solve a lot of questions. Every single day I solve a lot of questions. I take a lot of these remedial classes. I record a lot of video solutions. I prepare questions for DashCat. So Quant is something that I do on a daily basis. So I don't need to practice a lot. In fact, Quant is what I look at as my scoring subject. So I'll discuss Quant or what my plan is for Quant later. First, when it comes to LRDA and verbal is something that I'm not super strong at. Verbal, I normally score around say 97 to 99 percentile. It keeps varying. But for verbal, to improve in verbal, what I try to do is I try to read passages on a regular basis. I try to make it a habit for myself, where when I'm having lunch or when I'm bored at night or in the morning, early morning, if I have a lot of free time, any time I try to finish at least one article. If I start an article, I always try to finish it. Typical articles that I look at are, I have a wide variety of reading lists, including The Guardian, Indian Express, Hindu, many of these editorials and op-eds I read. In addition to it, just to make myself read difficult passages, I started even reading Architectural Digest, because that I felt was something that once I went through one of the passages and I found it to be extremely boring. But then I motivated myself that these kind of passages might actually come in the examination. Not passages directly from Architectural Digest, but something similar to that, where they talk a lot about design, they talk a lot about how houses should be constructed and all, which I didn't find super interesting. But I still felt if I'm able to read these and comprehend it, my comprehension skills and my concentration skills will improve. So I started reading Architectural Digest also on a regular basis, and now actually I have some interest in these kind of things, design and all, because I read a lot of those articles. The point that I'm essentially saying is that if you want to improve in a particular topic, especially in verbal, you have to read a lot of articles. Don't read novels, that will waste a lot of time. read these articles, every article something that can be read in 5 to 10 minutes, read as many of them as possible. And if you stick to one source, that is very good. If not one source, say 3 or 4 sources on a regular basis, if you stick to them and read them entirely, that will be very good. Go for short articles, don't go for long novels. That I think is a waste of time. This is with respect to the verbal preparation. With respect to my LRDA preparation, I record a lot of daily targets. I also solve a lot of LRDAs. I also set a lot of LRDAs for the dashcards, and I discuss with my content managers about the kind of LRDAs that should be set. That is essentially my practice, where I practice and solve a lot of LRDAs. Quant, like I already mentioned, that is what I look at. Now coming to the examination center, what I always try to do is I try to keep myself calm. The calmer I am, the better I perform. And with respect to my scoring strategies, what I try to do is very simple. I want to score around say 99 percentile in verbal. I want to score 99 plus in LRDA, hopefully say 99.5. And in quant, I have to score 100 percentile. I'll try to score all the questions correct. And if I do that, I'll get 100 or very close to 100. That is basically the strategy, because 99 in verbal, 99.5 in LRDA, and 100 in quant. And that 100 is not just about getting 100 percentile. I try to get all the questions correct, score very heavily in quant, so that my overall score improves. That is basically my strategy, and that seems to be working quite well. Now, how I do that is also very simple, where with respect to verbal, my strategy is to attempt all the questions. Because if you are aiming for 100 percentile, you can't leave an RC. That is just not happening. If you want to score very, very high, again, this is only for students who are looking to score 99.9 plus. For people who are not very confident of that, this strategy might not really work, because this is a risky strategy. You have to be sure about what your strategy is and what your aims are when you are actually using this strategy. My strategy is simple. I try to get all the questions correct in verbal, because I feel in verbal, there is a lot of downside, wherein if there is an RC and you got stuck in an RC because you found it very boring, in the middle of the RC, you lost your chain of thought. What is the worst that will happen? The 3-4 minutes that you spent in coming to that, in reading half of that RC is wasted, not more than that. So I try to be more aggressive in my verbal section. The point being that if I initially get off say 1 or 2 RCs done quite quickly, when my mind is still fresh and not very tired, I can have some time to finish the verbal sections and also come and attempt the 3rd and 4th RC. That is basically what I try to do. I first go for 2 RCs. I try to finish them quickly. Then I go for some verbal questions, because verbal is like slightly easier, at least not as intensive. RC, I think you have to be like super concentrated. You can't like miss up. You can't waver. Your thought has to be on the RC, because if you start thinking about something else, you have to read the entire RC again. So I find it more intensive. You get tired also when you're reading an RC, because you have to concentrate more. But I try to get 2 RCs done at the start. Then I go for some verbal questions. Verbal questions are slightly easier on the mind, because even if you lose your chain of thought, even if you don't focus, you will waste hardly a minute. And again, you will come back and say, no, I have to focus, and you will finish that verbal question. In an RC, like I said, if you lose your chain of thought, it is 4-5 minutes wasted. So 2 RCs first, then some verbal questions. Then I come back to the 3rd RC. Then I go back to verbal, finish the verbal, and finally I come back to the 4th RC. Now this is basically my way in which I attempt the verbal section. In verbal section, one other thing that I look at is I don't come back to the same question again. When I'm looking at a question, whether it is a RC question, whether it is a verbal question, whether it is a para-jumble, TITA, anything, if I'm looking at a question, I will attempt it and go to the next one. Whatever I think is the best case scenario, I'll attempt it and I'll go to the next question. Because like I mentioned to you earlier, I have to attempt all the questions. So I don't have time to come back to this question later. That is not going to happen. Because even in verbal, I feel if I come back to the question again next time and give it 2 more minutes, it is not going to significantly improve my accuracy. So what I always try to do is I go with this flow that I mentioned, 2 RCs, verbal, 3rd RC, verbal, finish verbal, come back to the 4th RC. And whenever I look at a question, I try to attempt it and then go to the next one. Even if I feel that this doesn't make sense, I'm not at all sure of my answer, even then I will attempt something and I'll go to the next one. The reason for that also I have mentioned in many of my streams. It has something to do with the expected score that you'll get. If anybody remembers it, please do mention in the chat. In the meantime, I'll just have some water. I know that many of you are actually asking questions. I'll answer many of these questions after I finish my verbal section strategy. Please do like the stream, guys. We have, I think, more than 60 people who are watching this stream live. I want to get to 100 likes before the stream ends. So the point is very simple. In verbal or in quant or in LRDA, especially in verbal, it is very important for you to eliminate the wrong options. If you are able to eliminate the wrong options, you will get the correct answer better. And if you are able to eliminate the wrong answers, that I find to be much more easier than actually finding which of them is the best answer. So if you are able to eliminate one option, you have only 3 answers which are correct. One you have eliminated, one you are sure is not correct. Now out of the 3 you are not so sure which one of them is correct. Even then I would mark something and I'll go ahead. What is the reason for it? If suppose I was not able to eliminate any option, there are 3 wrong options and there is 1 correct option. If I pick a wrong option by randomly, I lose -1. If I get the correct answer by luck, I'll get +3. So what is the expected score that I'm going to get? If I'm not able to eliminate any option, if randomly I'm taking 1 out of the 4 options, anybody who is good at quant, please do message in the chat. You are not able to eliminate any option. Now you put one question, you answer one randomly. What is the expected score that you will get from that one question? Let me know if anybody gets it correct. I know that many of you have asked questions. I'll answer them. Let me see if anybody can get it wrong. Anybody can get it correct. Isha, yes, you can consider AONSS. That is fantastic. That's a very good source. Very good evening, Vishal. So it is 1/4 is the probability that you will get it correct. 1/4 is the probability that you will get it correct. What is the expected mark? So in 1/4 of the case, you will get +3. In 3/4 of the case, you will get -1. So basically, you will not lose any marks. It is 1/4 into +3 minus 3/4 into 1, which is 0. So suppose now you are able to eliminate one option. You feel that, okay, one option is definitely wrong. You are able to figure it out that this is definitely wrong. But the remaining 3, you are not so sure. You feel any one of the remaining 3 can be correct. Now what is the expected probability? Now if you mark one of the 3 options randomly, then it will be 1/3, 1/3 you are correct, 2/3 you are wrong. Now 1/3 into 3 minus 2/3 into 1. So in that case, you will be making 1 minus 2/3, which is 1/3 marks. You have a positive expected marks by randomly putting an option. Now suppose you are able to eliminate 2 options. The probability that you will get it correct is now half. And the probability that you will get it wrong is half. When you get it correct, you are getting 3 marks. When you are getting it wrong, you are getting -1. So the expected marks you score is 1/2 into 3 minus 1/2 into 1, which is actually equal to 3/2 minus 1/2, that is 1. So if you are able to eliminate 2 options, you should definitely go. If you are able to eliminate one option, also you should definitely go. And normally when I'm attempting verbal, I'm able to at least eliminate one option. I at least figure out that this option is wrong. And then I attempt it and then I go forward. This is basically my strategy for verbal. Now, please do like the stream, guys. I'll answer some questions before I go to my LRDI section. Miyara Kunne saying, what's your absolute score? How much does scaling affect when you have higher total marks? Scaling does affect. It depends on whether a particular section was easy or difficult. If you score full, like I used to score full in quant many years, when you score full, the scaling doesn't affect quite a lot, because even if it is a difficult section, you won't get additional marks. So out of quant, for example, out of 66, if I score all 66 and it is a difficult section, so I should have gotten positive scaling, but that is not given. You are given just 66. But sometimes if the section is easy and I get negative scaling, that happens. Wherein even if I get all the 22 questions correct in quant, sometimes I lose around 3 to 4 marks. So my scaled score will become just like say 60 or 61. So I'm losing 5-6 marks, even though I got all the questions correct. That kind of a thing happens. And at those extremes, when you are scoring very high, you tend to lose a lot of marks in one of the sections, if it happens. So the swings will be much more like wide at the extremes. The scaling will not affect you a lot if you are around the average. Around the average, the scaling will be quite moderate. But as you keep scoring higher and higher, the scaling keeps getting affected more and more. PDK Creations is saying, sir, nenu quant lo chala poor sir, naku edaina suggestion ivvandi sir, na preparation kuda sarigga ledhu sir. I'll first explain in Telugu because I am also, my mother tongue is Telugu, and then I'll speak in English. నీ ప్రిపరేషన్ సరిగ్గా లేదు అంటే నువ్వు బేసికలీ కూర్చొని రోజు ఏదో ఒక పర్టికులర్ టైంలో కూర్చొని చదవాలి. నువ్వు ఎయిదర్ 2 hours పొద్దునైనా చదవాలి, 2 hours సాయంత్రం చదవాలి, ఎప్పుడప్పుడు నువ్వు చదవాలి. చదవకుండా ఎవడు పెద్ద ఐఎంలోకి వెళ్ళలేడు. అది చాలా సింపుల్. చదవకుండా ఇక్కడ దీంట్లో షార్ట్ కట్టే లేదు. నువ్వు చదివితేనే నువ్వు వెళ్తావు. ఎందుకంటే నువ్వు చదవకపోతే మిగతా వాళ్ళు చదువుతున్నారు, మిగతా వాళ్ళు కష్టపడుతున్నారు. సో ఎవరైతే ఎక్కువ కష్టపడతారో వాళ్ళకి సీట్ వస్తుంది. నా వల్ల అవ్వట్లేదు, నా ప్రిపరేషన్ అవ్వట్లేదు, నాకు టైం దొరకట్లే అంటే మిగతా వాళ్ళు ఎలాగో టైం వెతుకుతున్నారు. నువ్వు కూడా వెతుక్కోవాలి. నువ్వు వెతుక్కుని నువ్వు ఎఫర్ట్ పెట్టావు అంటే అప్పుడు నువ్వు కూడా వెళ్తావు. అట్లీస్ట్ నువ్వు ఇంప్రూవ్ అవుతావు. నువ్వు ప్రస్తుతం ఉన్న సిచ్యువేషన్ కంటే ఒక 3 months తర్వాత నీ సిచ్యువేషన్ బెటర్ అవుతుంది. So essentially what I was telling him is very simple. Everybody else is working. So if you are not able to find time to work, you have to find time. And only if you find time and only if you put in the effort will you actually go into a good institute. Otherwise, if you're not putting in the effort, if you are finding reasons, or like reasons is a politically correct, nice word, a more informal word is excuses. If you're finding excuses, then I feel there are other people who are not finding excuses. There are other people who have much more constraints on their time, but they're putting in efforts. I know many people, and you don't need to find a lot of people also. If out of the 3 lakh people who will take CAT, if say 2,000 or 3,000 people are putting in more effort than you, that is sufficient for them to score much higher than you. So the point is very simple. You have to put in the effort on a regular basis. You either work in the morning or in the evening or at some point. But every day you have to do the grind for 2 to 3 hours every single day. Neelima Nakka is saying, sir, can I crack CAT in the next 5 months? If I start my preparation, how will Cracku new batch help in my preparation? See, we actually just started a 5-month batch yesterday. A lot of people have enrolled to the 5-month batch. So I think many people actually know how our Cracku course works, but for some people who don't know, I'll explain it. So every single day we will give you a schedule. The schedule will be available. Actually, you can download the PDF of the schedule. Even if you haven't enrolled also, go ahead and download it, because that will give you a direction. Every day we tell you, okay, today the topic is a ratio and proportion in Quant. In verbal, it is a philosophical axis. In LRDS, say it is arrangements. So you get a list of topics that you have to cover on a particular day. If you are enrolled to our course, then we'll also send you materials with respect to that topic. So we'll send you maybe a couple of videos that we want you to watch. We'll also send you a link to take a test in a particular topic. So that we are also providing you good materials so that you can finish the entire syllabus. We'll also tell you on the weekends what mocks to take, what daily targets to take, what sectionals to take. So there is some sort of a schedule that you have to just stick. Your job is to ensure that you're sticking to the schedule. Our job is to give you the schedule. Our job is to provide you the materials. Our job is to encourage you so that you actually maintain that schedule. And your job is to ensure that you're actually doing that work. That is how the Cracku batch works. So every single day you'll get the list of things that you have to do, and you also know the path that you're taking. You know what will come tomorrow. You know what will come day after tomorrow. So it is more of a more efficient way of preparing, where you don't have to suddenly wake up on a fine day and feel, okay, what should I read today? That is how it is designed. Jason J saying, sir, is vocabulary building necessary for comprehension? Vocabulary building is not at all necessary for comprehension. In general, I feel don't waste a lot of time in building your vocabulary. Spend that time in actually reading articles. Reading articles on a regular basis is the best way in which you can improve your verbal percentile. Jay Sharma is saying, sir, I have enrolled to this batch, sir. For topics mentioned in daily schedule, do we need to do questions from the study room as well? As a beginner, how shall I target the daily targets? Because I know nothing, please guide. So what we tell our Cracku students is very simple. The most important thing is sticking to the daily schedule. So there are 3 parts. Stick to the daily schedule, watch the concept videos. At the end of every concept video, we give you a test, take those tests. That is a must for everybody. Anybody who is enrolled to the course, who wants to make the best use of the course, have to stick to that schedule. Now, once you are done with that schedule, suppose you are able to get say 3 or 4 hours every day, you are getting more time than most people, and you have more time. What do you do next? Then I would tell you to take the daily targets. Even if you are not understanding it, the point is, what I believe is, if you are reading a quant question, if you are reading a maths question, out of say 10 questions, even if you are a complete beginner, you will understand at least 5. You might not be able to solve them, but you will understand what is being asked. You know that, okay, there is a circle and somebody drew a line, and then you are asked to calculate the length of the line. You know that. You understand what is being asked, you just don't know how to solve it. You don't know the theorem that is useful to solve it, but at least you understand it. Now try to solve it on your own. Probably you won't make much of a progress, but at least try on your own, or at least build some sort of an intuition as to what that percentage will be, or what that number will be, or what is the ratio of that line to the, say, the radius of the circle. Something like that, try to think. The reason I want you to put in the effort is because after you put in the effort, if you look at the explanation, then you'll remember the explanation much longer. If you feel that, okay, this is a very difficult question, anyways, I haven't done geometry, anyways, I'm not sure about circles, then I'll just go ahead and look at the solution. You'll forget the solution within 2 days. If you put in 15 minutes in trying to solve that question, then you look at the explanation, you will remember that explanation for at least a couple of months. So that is why I always tell you, for quant, LRDA and verbal, put in the effort, try to solve it on your own for at least 5 to 10 minutes and then look at the solution. That is what you should do even in daily targets. Even if you feel I haven't completed the syllabus, I've just started my preparation, even then I would tell you, put in the effort in trying to solve the daily targets. So first is batch schedule, batch tasks, batch assignments, they are most important. If you find more time, do the daily targets. If you find more time, then go to the study room. And try to use these 3 across the week, because the batch schedule is busy only from Monday to Friday. Over the weekend, we ask you mostly to take mocks or sectionals. So if you're not having any backlogs during the batch schedule, over the weekend, you can do your daily targets or your study room. Anjali Devnani is saying, sir, please give promo code for mock series. Please do send a mail to support@cracku.in, and then we will provide you discount based on your academic profile. Vallabha Kaustubha is saying, sir, I messaged you in LinkedIn. Please have a look. Okasari chudandi, please. Okay, basically I get a lot of messages in LinkedIn, so I don't follow it very regularly. I add people who have sent me a request, but I get a lot of messages. So, but please send me again. I'll try to look at it. Uday Simha is saying, sir, if we get 99.98, 99.99, 100%, it is easy to get it ABC than others, even if interview goes average. That I think is a wrong way to look at it. Because why do you want to give up on your interview? Many people feel that I'm not good at interviews. Many people feel that, okay, I can't crack interviews. How do I do it? But actually, interviews are also cracked by strategy. The first time I actually took CAT, I got a decent percentile and I got some shortlist, but I was not able to convert any one of them because my interview preparation was not good. But the second time I got again shortlist, but this time I was a lot more prepared because after that experience, the first time when I was not able to convert any interview, I did introspection to figure out why was I not getting selected. Then I changed a lot of things based on starting from how I actually sit. Also how I phrased my sentences. How do I phrase my tell me about yourself? And you have to think from the perspective of the interviewer and you have to put in a lot of effort. You can't be passive. You have to actively think how you're presenting. How are you presenting yourself? What are you saying? How is your body language? Not just your verbal communication, but even your non-verbal communication. If there are any gaps in your resume and you tell out that answer, suppose you have a gap here and you are explaining your gap here, are you coming across as very defensive? Is it, you have to also figure out how you are sounding. So there are a lot of things, lot of techniques, lot of strategies that are involved in interviews, which we will discuss on a different day. But I'm just saying you should not focus on, you should not have the mindset that I'm going to do extremely well in CAT, so that even if you perform poorly in interview, I'll get into ABC. That I think is a very inefficient way of attempting CAT also. Because then you're putting too much pressure on yourself to do well in CAT and probably you won't be able to do it. So you have to ensure that you manage your expectations properly. Now coming to my LRDI strategy. I'll tell you my LRDI strategy and after that I'll look at some other questions. In the meantime guys, please do like the stream. We have more than 70 people who are watching the stream live. I want to get to at least 100 likes before the stream ends. If we have 76 people who are watching the stream and only 52 likes, that is disappointing. Now coming to LRDI. LRDI is a section I respect a lot. Like many of the people who watch my streams regularly know that LRDI is a section I don't take lightly. Where verbal on some level, I think I'll manage quite okay. In the sense, I don't think I'll do exceptionally well in verbal and I don't think I can completely screw up verbal. Verbal, I think I'll get between 97 to say 99.5, something in that range I can get if I put in the effort. Because even if I'm having a bad day, I'll maybe not perform well in one RC. Maybe I'll get a few verbal questions wrong, but overall in the other 3 RCs and some of the verbal questions, I'll do quite okay. In LRDI on the other hand, because they're only 40 minutes. Now if I get stuck in a set might appear very easy, but if I get stuck in a set, I can lose 20 to 25 minutes. And if I lose 20 to 25 minutes, and if I get only one LRDI set correct, there is no way, even if I do extremely well in quant or in verbal, I'm going to get 100%. That is not happening. To get 100%, I need to solve at least 2 LRDI sets. That is basically what is needed. I know this and my strategy is basically after admitting that this is a possibility, after recognizing the reality, that is how I train my LRDI strategy also. So my LRDI strategy is very simple. I don't want to waste even a single minute in LRDI. So towards the end of verbal, I mentioned to you that I do the 4th RC of verbal towards the end. That RC, I put in very little effort. I try to just skim through the passage, look at the questions, try to figure out which answer seems correct. Because out of the 4 questions in that RC, even if I get 1 question correct, I'm happy. Sometimes I get 2 questions correct, I'll be more than happy. But like I mentioned earlier, even if I get 1 question correct and 3 questions wrong, I'm losing nothing there. But somehow I outperform and I get 2 questions correct, I'm getting a positive score. That is how I look at the last RC. And the reason I mentally check out of the verbal section is because I don't want to panic towards the end of verbal. Because if I panic towards the end of verbal, I get this adrenaline crash when DILR starts. And DILR, if you get an adrenaline crash at the start of DILR, if you are full panicked, if you are very anxious, somehow you do a last minute salvage, then immediately later, within a few seconds, you'll start feeling very tired because your adrenaline will go away. And you lose 5 to 10 minutes to actually come back to the normal state, and that should not happen in LRDA. So I don't want to get those kind of panics in LRDA. So I try to check out mentally in verbal towards the last 3 to 4 minutes. And in the last 30 seconds before LRDA, I try to finish off my RC. I just calm down. I focus on LRDA. Once the section opens, once LRDA comes, I go through all the 4 sets. In all the 4 sets, again, I mentioned this in many of my streams, but people who haven't watched my streams earlier, this is my strategy for the LRDS. For all the 4 LRDIs, I go through each one of them. I try to figure out what is the type of LRDI it is. Is it an arrangements LRDI? Is it a DI? Is it a graph? Is it a pie chart? Is it a spider web? Is it a Venn diagrams type of an LRDI? Is it a scheduling one? Is this a type of LRDI I have solved earlier? So I try to get a map of all the 4 LRDIs. Then I make a priority order in which I am going to attempt each of those LRDIs. The priority order I decide based on how easy I think that LRDI would be. Sometimes I get it correct, sometimes I get it wrong, but mostly I tend to get the difficulty level quite okay, but not 100%. Like if I think that a set is easy, I think 70% of the time I'm correct, 30% of the time I'm wrong, because LRDIs, it is difficult to really assess how difficult it is. But at least I have a priority order. Once you have a priority order, you're not confused. If you get stuck in one set, you don't panic and figure out, okay, what should I do next? Again, you don't go to all the 3 other sets and get confused and waste more time. So I initially spend 2 to 3 minutes at the start trying to get that priority order correct. When I'm making the priority order, I also look at another aspect. The other aspect I look at is, in this set, if I solve the set, will I get all the 5 questions correct? Or is this set designed in such a way that all the 5 questions are individual questions? Sometimes you have to solve, suppose you have a selection with condition kind of a set, where you can select A and B, but C will not be part of the team if A is part of the team. You have 3 managers, you have to select 3 managers out of 5, and there are like many selections that are possible, many cases. I'm just giving an example. In those kind of sets, for example, every question is individual. One question might be that if A is part of the team, how many teams are possible? The second one will be if C and A are part of the team, how many cases will B also be part of the team? So you have to solve each one of them individually. I don't want to solve those kind of sets, because even if I put in the effort in understanding, in reading the set, all of that, solving the set will take a lot of time. I don't want to get into that. So my priority order for those kind of sets will be very low. On the other hand, there will be some sets, if you solve the set, all the 5 questions will immediately flow. Suppose it's an arrangement set where you have to figure out around a circle who is sitting where and which city have they come from, what car are they driving. A typical arrangement set where if you get that arrangement done, all the 5 questions will immediately follow. So those kind of sets I want to solve first, because once I get the set correct, I'm done. Now my mindset is very simple. After spending the first 3 to 4 minutes getting that priority order, understanding the 4 sets, I have around say 38 minutes. And in those 38 minutes, I have to get 2 sets correct. Then if you look at it that way, it is not very difficult, because by now, what have you achieved? What I have achieved is, I know all the 4 sets. I have an idea about all the 4 sets. I'm not confused about, I'm not missing out on any set. And then I also tell myself that for each set, I have 19 minutes. And when I tell myself that I have 19 minutes, I calm down a little. Then I try to look at and attempt the set, which is top on my priority, which is most likely the easiest set. And if things go well, sometimes I'm able to solve it within 10 minutes. Then I have 30 minutes. I try to solve the second set and then probably go and solve the third one also. This is if things go well. Sometimes I misjudge the easiness of a set and I get stuck in a set, and then I reassess after spending 7 to 8 minutes. That is, by the time I have 30 minutes, I try to figure out, should I hang on to this set and try to solve it, or should I ditch it and go to the next set? Now that depends. That decision I've taken both ways. Sometimes I've ditched it after spending 5 to 6 minutes. So I have around say 30 minutes left. I've ditched it and gone to the next set. Sometimes I've done that. Sometimes I just stuck with a particular set. And many times actually, when I'm sticking to a particular set, it never worked out. Because there are instances where I stuck to a set and I solved it after 25 minutes. Then one set was over and I have only 15 minutes left. Then again you are in panic. But many times, even when I'm panicking, I'm able to solve a second set. Many times it has so happened that I'm able to either solve a second set or get some of the questions correct out of the other sets. Now, how do I get some of the other questions correct? I also have a strategy with respect to TITA questions. So if you look at the other questions, other sets, I spent at least the last 4 to 5 minutes in trying to attempt the theta sets and giving good calculated guesses. For example, in one of the years in LRDI, there was a set which involved high-low. I think this was in probably CAT 2021 or CAT 2022. Mostly CAT 2021, there was a high-low. It was basically a game that is played by people. People, I think, guess some number or something, and they play across different rounds. 2 players play across different rounds. Now, I read it, but the rules didn't register in my brain, because at that time I was again in this salvaging mode where I messed up the section and I had like say 5 minutes left. I think I solved only one set. Now in that high-low, after reading the rules, I was not able to really understand what the rules were, because I was not able to think properly. There was very little time left. But what I was able to at least guess is that the number of rounds that they are talking about is less than 6. They are not going to be 100 rounds. They are not going to be 50 rounds. I figured out that the number of rounds is very limited. And there were 2 theta questions which were asking me in which round does a particular event happen and in which round does a particular event happen. So for both of them, I gave the same answer. I gave the answer 3, because I felt if the number of rounds is 6, most likely the answer won't be first round. Most likely the answer won't be 6th round. So it has to be either 2, 3, 4, 5. I felt at least one of the 2 will be 3. And I got one question correct. I didn't know the set. I was not able to answer the set. But at least by giving these kind of calculated guesses, what did I guess? By looking at the set, I figured out that the rounds are from 1 to 6. That is at least that I could guess. And my calculated guess was that I'll keep it in the middle, and for both the questions, I'll give the same answer. Then I'll get at least one of them correct. And in theta, you should always attempt theta, because theta, you have not losing anything. Arey dude, don't spam man about MDA Gurgaon. I know what they've done is pretty bad. I understand that. But what can I do? I'm a very small guy, man. What can I do? What if they're given an offer and they have retracted the offer? It is very bad. It shows the institute also in very poor light. But what can we do? Sometimes things like that will happen. Okay, that is with respect to my use your voice. I don't have a lot of voice, man. I'm a very small guy. Even if I raise a lot of voice, I don't think a lot of things will happen. But I'll see if I think there is some update, right? They're going to tell something by tomorrow. So let us see how it will come. How do you attempt verbal? Jagriti Singh is saying, I have already made a video on it. In this video only at the start, if you look at it, you'll get an idea. Okay, let me look at other things. Every time I see you live, you drink something. Why? Suggest something for the students. No, when I speak a lot, this is like for say 30 minutes I'm speaking. So when I speak a lot, my throat hurts. And this is just some hot water. Okay. Sir, I'm good at DILR and VA, but I'm too weak in Quant. Now I'm coming to Quant. How do you get 100% in Quant? Okay, I'm going to talk about Quant in detail. I think I've covered LRDA and verbal with respect to my strategy, my section. I'll now talk about Quant. We have more than 90 people who are watching the stream live. Guys, please do like the stream. If you like the stream, it will be very useful. Just give me 1 minute and then I'll talk about my Quant attempt. Now, once verbal is done, once LRDA is done, by this time, once Quant is starting, I have a rough sense of how the exam is going. Verbal, even though you can't be sure, sometimes you feel that you have done very well, but your accuracy might not be very good. Sometimes you feel you haven't done too well, but sometimes your accuracy is good. Verbal might not be very clear, but LRDA at least is very clear. Many times I figure out that either I have messed up in LRDA or I have done fairly well in LRDA. Now the thing is, the problem is when I feel I have done fairly well in LRDA, it is important for me to calm down and ensure that I give my best in Quant. Because I get 100% mostly because I perform very well in Quant. So it is important for me to not get complacent and also refocus. And with Quant, I think once I get into that zone, I'm able to solve questions quite well. So it is, I waste the first 3-4 minutes because LRDA, like I mentioned earlier, is this panic section where I use a lot of adrenaline. I put a lot of effort, all my energy, all my mind, I put into LRDA. So by the time LRDA is over, I feel a little tired. Like the adrenaline crash that I mentioned earlier, that happens to me after LRDA. But I know that that is okay. And once the first 3-4 minutes pass in Quant, I can start solving fast is a confidence that I have. And that is what I always do. And in Quant, the thing is, it is important to get into the flow. for me at least, once I get into the flow, I am able to cover questions quite quickly, quite fast, and with focus. Sometimes the momentum doesn't come. It happens to me in some of the exams also, in many of the CAT exams, especially if LRA was this salvaging mode where I had to put in a lot of effort towards the end to solve it. Somehow I'm not able to focus at the initial stage for quant. So what I tell myself is very simple. I try to solve the first question. If I get the first question correct, I feel happy. I feel that, okay, now the train basically has started, and then it will go on. But many times, if I don't get the first question, then I go to the second question. But if I don't get the first question, many times I don't get the second one also, and the third one, because I think I'm just not in that zone. In those kind of situations, what I do is I just play a simple trick with myself. Instead of solving from the start, I go to the last question and then I start. And it kind of works. When I go to the last question and I get it correct, then I start coming forward. The only thing I try to ensure with respect to quant is, in quant, I want to answer all the questions. All the 22 questions, I want to answer them. So I know that 22 questions by 40 minutes is the time you have. Roughly, I'll have less than 2 minutes. Roughly, I have less than 2 minutes. So when I have less than 2 minutes, I try to ensure that I am getting the number of questions I attempted and the time taken. I try to ensure that it is into 1.5, because sometimes I miss out on some questions. Sometimes I don't get a question, like I mentioned earlier. So those questions I have to solve after coming back the second time. And after coming back to the second time, I do it in quant. I don't do it in bubble, if you remember what I mentioned earlier. So I try to ensure that the time gap is there. So within the first 15 to 20 seconds, I should be able to figure out whether I'll get it correct in 1.5 minutes, or if I'm not going to get it correct. If I feel that I'm not going to get it correct, there is no ego, no this, I just go to the next question. Every question when I'm attempting, my plan is I have to get it correct within 1.5 minutes. If I feel that is possible, I'll attempt it. Otherwise, I leave it and go to the next one. What I feel in quant especially is that if I read a question once and I come back to it after say 15-20 minutes, I'm able to get it correct very easily. Because I think, I don't know how it works, but I think subconsciously your brain is still working on that. So at least you know how to start solving that. So when I look at a question, I try to get it correct immediately. If I'm not getting it correct, I go to the next one and I finish all the 22 questions like that. Out of, when I scavenge all the first 22, typically I get around say 15 questions done in the first go. And I'll have around 15 minutes left. So I'll have around 7 minutes for 15 questions, I have 15 minutes for 7 questions. But these 7 questions are difficult questions. If it was an easy question, I would have answered it in the first round itself. So, but even though they're difficult, because I've already read them once, when I come back to attempt them the second time, I am normally able to get it correct within 2 minutes, which is basically the time that I have. And towards the end, when I feel time is running out, I also make some educated guesses where I try to eliminate options. I try to figure out what the number can be. And in quant, I use the mark for review option also, where I try to see if I'm not 100% sure, but I feel that this option seems to be correct, I mark it for review and go to the next one. Because in quant, sometimes I get a chance to come back and review. This is basically my strategy with respect to attempting the examination. So let me look at some of the questions that you guys have asked, and then I'll end the stream. Please do like the stream, guys. We have 88 likes. I want to get to at least 100 likes before the stream ends. Okay, Sanam is saying quant is 30 to 17 questions. Jump needed. Please suggest tips. In quant, one heuristic that I tell students is very simple. If say on an average you're getting 13 questions correct out of 22, you're doing quite well actually. If you're getting 13 correct out of 22, you're doing quite well. But you can definitely improve. If you're aiming for 99.9, if you're aiming for 100 percentile, you should do better. So what you should do is, if you solve 100 questions, 100 quant questions if you solve, your average will improve by 1. So instead of getting 13 questions correct, you'll get 14 questions correct. You go back and solve another 100 questions, then you'll get on an average 15 questions correct. For you to increase your average, you have to practice more and more and more. You have to solve more and more and more, and you have to do it in an obsessive way. If you do it in an obsessive way, if you have that process that every day I'm just going to go and crush a lot of questions, you should enjoy that grind. You should enjoy solving so many questions, because you should tell yourself and you should convince yourself that the more questions I solve, the better I'm going to get, the more my mock score will be. And if you keep solving more and more questions, if you have that obsessive mentality, you will definitely get 100 percentile, or you will come very close to 100 percentile. If you are able to solve say 30-40 quant questions on a daily basis, it is a lot of work. It is not easy. Solving 30 quant questions is not easy on a daily basis. But if you are continuing to do it, imagine how confident you will be on the day of the examination. solving say 20 to 30 quant questions on a daily basis will take a lot of effort, but the result also will be there. So the whole point is, if you want to go from 13 to 17 or from 17 to 18 or from 18 to 19, you have to keep crushing more and more and more questions on a daily basis. Sri saying, sir, is it possible to get 99.9 percentile in CAT or that if I start now? See, 99.9 is difficult, man. 99.9, like I mentioned earlier, is not something that everybody can get. You have to put in a lot of effort to actually get there. But I think if you start now, 99 percentile is not very difficult. I've seen many people increase their score from 70 to 99 by preparing for 7 to 8 months. So that I've seen happen very regularly. But if you are somebody who is already scoring say around 98 percentile, if you right now are in the aptitude level of say 98 and you put in a lot of effort in this last 4-5 months, then I think 99.9 is definitely possible. If your current level is 98, you can definitely go to 99.9 in this 5 months. But if say your current level is around say 70, then 99.9 might be very difficult. But if your current level is say 70, I think you can still go to 98, 99 level. I've seen that happen to many students. Gasly is saying, sir, I take at least 10 to 12 minutes to completely attend one RC. What should I do to improve my speed and comprehension? You have to read more and more. Like I mentioned, you have to enjoy that process. And you should have one process. You have to keep reading articles on a daily basis. Read 3 to 4 articles every day. When are you going to read these 3 to 4 articles? Don't try to make it a chore. Don't try to say that, okay, now I have to go and read these articles. Try to make it interesting. Maybe at some time during the day, whenever you are fairly relaxed, make it a habit for you to read 1 or 2 articles. Maybe one article in the morning, one during lunchtime, and one at night. Every day ensure that you are reading 3 to 4 articles, and that itself will ensure that your reading speed improves, your comprehension speed improves. PDK Creations, you are my inspiration. Thank you. Vallabha Kaustuba is saying, total ki aim cheste accuracy pothund. Accuracy ki aim cheste total marks takku vastare. What to do? You have to practice more, man. That's it. That is basically the solution. You can't just focus on one of the two. You have to keep answering more and more and more. Yeah, man, I do support MDA IB students. I do support them. I feel it is very bad, very unfortunate. I can also empathize with them. This happened once earlier also. I think this was maybe 10-15 years back. It happened, if I'm not wrong, with IIM Kolkata. I'm not so sure, but maybe around that. Where they gave offers and then they retracted their offers. It happened to a close friend of mine who left his job. But if you want the end of the story, next year he got into IIM Ahmedabad. That year he thought he converted, I think IIMC only. But they retracted the offer for around 100 students. And it was very unfortunate. He was a fairly close friend of mine. But next year, he again took CAT, he did very well, he joined IIM Ahmedabad. So, look at it in a positive way. Okay guys, if you have any doubts with respect to whatever I said, or in general with respect to your CAT preparation, feel free to comment below this video. I look at all the questions and I'll try to respond to them to the best of my ability. In general, if you look at my previous streams also, whenever somebody comments, I always respond to it. I try to respond within a few hours. So definitely if you're having any difficulty, if you're having any issue with respect to your CAT preparation, definitely comment below this video. I look at them and I'll try to help you out. Please do like the stream and please do share it with your friends.